Hello, everybody. It's Nathan Crane, founder of Healing Life. I'm so excited for this announcement today. As you may know, if you've been following my work for years now, I'm a big proponent and a big believer in energy medicine. I love energy medicine. I love the history of it. I love the ancient underlying aspects of it. I love the science of it. And I think it's incredibly valuable and incredibly helpful for anybody and everybody, no matter what you're going through, whether it's dealing with a chronic health condition or it's just wanting to achieve greater vitality in your life, to have more health and happiness and even abundance, to wake up with more energy during the day, to achieve more fulfillment in your life. Energy medicine has an incredible dynamic potential within it that when you practice the underlying practices of energy medicine, it can totally and completely transform your life. I've experienced it in my own life, and I practice it every single day. And I've seen it literally in thousands of other people's lives, help them improve in so many ways. And additionally, you may not have known that I've actually practiced yoga in my life for years and years as well. I actually started doing yoga back in Encinitas, California, when I lived there 15, 17 years ago, something like that, and love yoga. But I'm super excited about this announcement today because I recently met somebody by the name of Lauren Walker, who had a brilliant, and I'm gonna let her tell you the origin story of this, but a brilliant idea to merge both energy medicine and yoga together. Two incredible ancient healing practices, which are both continuously being supported by science today to help improve just about every single area of our lives, mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual well-being of our lives, and merge them together into a practice that's accessible and powerful for anybody, anywhere in the world. And so you're going to hear from her right now in this interview. What is this practice? How does it work? Who's it for? And I'm incredibly excited to share it with you that we have partnered with her to bring her teachings and her best teachers to teach energy medicine yoga to our community at Healing Life. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about that. And I'm really excited to introduce her. So let me introduce Lauren for you, and then we'll bring her on. So Lauren Walker created this brilliant new form of yoga that helps people of all ages, backgrounds, health conditions, and health concerns to really reclaim their health, improve their energy levels, increase their mental and physical vitality, and help their minds and bodies heal. As I said, this new form of yoga is called energy medicine yoga. So we're going to talk all about energy medicine yoga and how it can help you anywhere in the world dealing with any kind of health condition during this interview right now. Lauren is also the author of the best-selling book, Energy Medicine Yoga, and is the author of the new book, The Energy to Heal. Lauren and I have recently partnered to help bring energy medicine yoga to people all around the world through my online health platform, healinglife.net. And now you can experience the incredible healing power of energy medicine yoga from the comfort of your own home as a member of Healing Life by visiting healinglife.net. Lauren, thank you so much for being here and for this great collaboration and partnership. And so excited about this. So thank you.
Thank you, Nathan. I'm really excited to be here with you. And hi, everybody out there in Healing Life land, which hopefully is everybody in the land. I'm really excited to bring these practices to you as well. So I'm just happy to be here, Nathan.
So let's talk a little bit about what is energy medicine yoga. What is it, and how did it come to you, or how did you come up with it?
So that's a great question. And I really loved how you explained about energy medicine being this really ancient practice. And energy medicine is actually sort of an umbrella for many, many practices from many traditions all over the world. And yoga, which is primarily based in India and has also been practiced for thousands of years, also today is practiced all over the world. And so for me, I was a yoga teacher and really steeped in the practice of yoga, the study of yoga. I was teaching yoga. I loved it. It was incredible. But I kept having these traumatic experiences in my life that my yoga practice wasn't helping me to resolve. And I came to a crossroads where I felt I had to either find a new practice or find a different yoga teacher or a different style of yoga. And I wasn't really sure what it was that I needed, but I knew I needed something else. I knew I needed deeper healing that the yoga wasn't accessing. Within the span of 2 months, 2 different people in 2 different countries introduced me to the work of Donna Eden and changed my life. I started studying with Donna Eden at her school, Inner Source, and learned for the first time what energy actually is. So I'd studied yoga for years and I'd heard about prana and chi and all of these words that were connected to these esoteric ideas that didn't really feel grounded to me. I'd heard about prana, right? That's the life force energy. But where is it? Where do you get it? How can you move it specifically to a place? Can you use it specifically for an ailment? And I was never getting really solid answers to those questions in the yoga world. All of a sudden, I started studying energy medicine and learned what energy is. And not only that, but learned that there are 9 energy systems in the human body. 9. So in yoga, I had studied chakras and I had studied the aura. And I use the term studied loosely because when I started to study those systems from this context, it blew away my previous, I'm going to say, lack of understanding of what those really were. But we have 9 systems. So imagine if all of a sudden you realized that you had this force of, let me see how I want to say this. Because I was going to make this metaphor with the physical body, that we have all of the systems in the physical body. And if you just discovered all of a sudden, wow, I have a pulmonary system and I didn't know about that, right? That was sort of how it felt like to me when I understood energy, because energy is all that there is. And so once I had access and tools to this language, which is the language of the universe, not only the language of your body, and you mentioned body, mind, spirit, all of those are made of energy. So once you have the tools and the language to speak back to how you are created, it's a game changer. It's a game changer. And so that's how it started for me. And I started to heal these traumatic experiences in my life. And then I started to go down the path of, why does this work? How does this work? What is the science behind it? Why doesn't it work at times? Like, so there's all of this. I started doing all of this research because I also really wanted to know, why is this working so well? Because anecdotally, I started teaching energy medicine yoga at a military university, so to young men, primarily men, 17 to 21. And then I started teaching in the yoga community at large, which is a totally different demographic than that. Across the board, no matter who I taught or what their issue was or what was going on or where they were from, they were having remarkable results. And I can't and don't ever take credit for that. It is the intrinsic nature of the body to heal. But, and when you have these tools and these access points to work directly with the energies that illuminate everything in your life, you have a much easier time getting to those healing capacities, getting to those, the miracle capacities that all of our bodies hold. So that's how it started.
Love that. So oftentimes people think of energy and they think of either this kind of ethereal, intangible source thing that they can't really put a finger on it, right? And yet with our modern scientific tools that we have today, we can actually measure energy. You can measure the amount of energy that is emanating literally out of your heart. You can measure the energy in your brain. You can measure the energy of a cell. You can literally measure the energy of anything, because as you said, everything is energy. But what happens when that energy gets blocked? And so I was studying with a master Qigong teacher who brought this ancient form of energy medicine from China here to the West, and learning from him firsthand and helping bring energy medicine to hundreds of thousands of new people here in the West, as I experienced it and realized this is so transformational. It's so powerful. And it's incredibly healing and rejuvenating physically, mentally, emotionally. As you said, those traumatic experiences, we're all dealing with some kind of trauma, either from childhood or even from adulthood, right? And what I found is this kind of work in dealing with energy and energy medicine is that those kinds of issues, childhood adverse events, traumas, emotional challenges, even stress, can be completely reduced, mitigated, and transformed through energy medicine, because that's also energy. But also, as I was learning about this and studying the science behind it, as well as the history, and then documenting and literally creating documentaries about people who healed from cancers, who healed from Parkinson's disease, who healed from neurological issues, who walked in literally, was pushed in a wheelchair, and 7 days later, after practicing, was walking out for the first time in years. All these kinds of miracle things I was seeing firsthand. I thought, I got to learn more about this, because this is incredible, fascinating stuff. How are we healing? How are people healing their own diseases and health challenges just by literally doing energy medicine and movement practices? And if you learn about energy, you realize, oh, wow, everything is energy in the body. And we get these in ancient Chinese tradition, they teach you, it's called energy blockage, right? And Donna Eden as well, who's an amazing teacher, somebody who is actually in Healing Life. She's somebody we've interviewed, somebody who's quite extraordinary. Talks about energy blockages, and once those energy blockages can turn into all kinds of issues in the body, can actually manifest as physical disease in the body. And when we release those energy blockages, incredible healing can occur. Well, I looked deeper into the science behind it, and I discovered something called neuropeptides. And when we have trauma, massive stress, childhood adverse events, the brain actually releases neuropeptides into the body. And those neuropeptides, if they don't get flushed out of the system, they actually kind of get stuck in that organ or that area and can lead to chronic inflammation. And we know chronic inflammation is one of the underlying causes of all kinds of diseases, including cancer, heart disease, all kinds of issues. So I started making this connection. This is a theory I have, but that blocked energy that the ancient cultures teach, I really believe it's neuropeptides. And that's what is, and neuropeptides are also a form of energy, right? And they've also shown that when you release those neuropeptides, you have an emotional healing experience or even a physical healing experience. Your body flushes those neuropeptides out of your body, and that chronic inflammation goes away, and then you can heal. And that's what's amazing about energy medicine. And so you fuse that together with yoga to really bring those two healing modalities together. And talk a little bit more about that. That what is that synergy that happens when you fuse energy medicine with yoga?
So what I can do to talk about that, I'll sort of piggyback on what you just said about the neuropeptides, because that, for a lot of us in the sort of alternative healing world, Candace Pert and the discovery of those neuropeptides is a big turning point, because what Nathan, you're talking about, and what Candace Pert spent her lifetime studying, is the connection between your emotions and the physiology of your body. So you have an emotional experience and you release these neuropeptides into your body, and they actually change the physiology of your body. And that's a really important thing to understand, because you're talking about inflammation as the underlying, or one of the most powerful underlying causes of disease. But the number one cause of disease in the body is stress, which leads to inflammation as well as other breakdowns of different tissue patterns. And the number one cause of stress is unprocessed emotions. So we come right back to this pivotal issue of understanding our health in light of the modern day science, which these ancient practices and techniques knew for thousands of years. So that alone is fascinating. But flash forward to, how is this relevant to you? So you talked about bringing these two practices together of these energy medicine techniques and yoga. So in yoga, which also, let's just note, is an energetic practice. It just, more and more in the West, it's taught as a kind of physical practice only, like a gym workout or something. But originally and still, it is an energy practice. So part of understanding the rules or the language of energy is knowing that it needs to move. Energy is always moving. That is the hallmark of energy, and it needs space to move in. And if it doesn't have that space to move, it gets stuck, which is what you're talking about, that stuck energy. And that manifests in the body as pain. So there's your energy talking to you. That language, that's one of the languages of energy that you'll learn, is pain. We all know pain, but we don't necessarily understand it as a language. So that pain in the body is energy that is stuck. And if we can get that energy moving again, we can release that pain. And if we don't get that energy moving again, it can densify and become more of a problem down the road, like you had mentioned before. Okay, so I'm going to get to the neuropeptides here and the power of putting these two practices together. So we have the yoga practice, creating space in the body, moving the body in very specific ways to create space. And then we have these energetic practices where we start to tap into very specific flows of energy in the body. And one of the pieces and the hallmark of the healing practices of energy medicine yoga is that we work with the emotions. And I've had hundreds and hundreds, probably thousands at this point, of yogis, practitioners, and teachers coming up to me and saying, I've never been able to explore my emotions in a yoga class before. Thank you. We have our emotional experiences in a yoga class, but we don't often get guided on what to do with them. What do they mean? Why are they there? What do I do with them? Your emotions are giving you information. They're flooding you with neuropeptides. That is information. And that information can be harvested and used. It's giving you very intelligent information. And then the energy of that emotion needs to be released. Like you were saying, releasing those neuropeptides, that is releasing the emotional energy. That is releasing that energy from the body. It is crucial because if you don't do that, then you get into the stress response and then you get into the disease patterns of the body. And that happens for issues in your past. You talked about adverse childhood events, trauma from any point in your life, even stress at any point in your life, because stress and trauma work in the body in nearly identical ways, the same cascade of chemicals through the body. And so bringing yourself to the mat, doing a practice, maybe daily if you're lucky, maybe a couple times a week if you're lucky, and if you devote that time to it, depending on what your goals are, you bring yourself to the mat and you work through these stress-causing emotional issues, trauma issues, stress issues, emotional issues on the mat in real time and release the energy of them. This is not therapy. So you're not going back and dissecting what happened and going back into the dense emotion of it. That's not what you're doing at all. This is a very beautiful and gentle practice because you're working with the energetics of the emotion, which is totally different than working with the story of the emotion. The story is, this happened to me and I felt like this. And I could tell you any number of stories right in this moment that would make me burst out in tears, that would make you burst out in tears. And that would be the story of the stress or the trauma or the event that I'm talking about. But that's not necessarily healing. That has the potential to actually re-traumatize me, and now I'm going to traumatize you with the density of my story. But if you come to the mat and you do these practices and you're working energetically with the emotion, now you're releasing that energy from the tissues, from the mind, from the whole energy body. You're releasing that without the story. The story stays there. It's what happened to you, but it doesn't hold that charge anymore that floods you with those stress chemicals so that you start to repeat that pattern and start to go down the disease pathway. Because we know now, the science is supporting this. Not only does emotion bring stress, bring disease, but trauma is directly linked now to disease. It's indisputable in the science. And so we need to start to release our stresses, release our traumas, release our emotions so that the body can do what it wants to do naturally, and that is to heal. And that's a continuum because we have continual stressors and traumatic events that happen to us through our lives. But if we start to mitigate some of these and release some of these, then we give space for the body to heal. If the body is too overwhelmed with inputs, it can't heal. For example, the body spends most of its time and energy digesting your food. That's the number one thing that your body does with your energy, is digest your food. So if you eat foods that are difficult to digest, if you eat at times of the day, which is actually more important than what you eat is when you eat, that makes it difficult to digest. How you eat, if you chew your food or if you don't, if you drink too much with your food or not enough, all of these things. And not to give you these picayune details where you're like, oh my God, how do I eat lunch anymore? It's not that. It's just telling you that that's what your body spends its time doing, is digesting. And so if you want to heal, that's why so many alternative healing practices have you look at your diet, because if you can take some of the stress off the system, if you can take some of the energy away from what it's using to digest your food, it can do what the body needs and wants to do, which is heal. So you give more time and more space and more energy to the healing functions of the body. So that's sort of one of the beautiful pieces of energy medicine yoga, is you show up with all of you, all of your emotions, all of your experiences, all of yourself, and you work from that place into a place of freedom. And it's a really beautiful journey.
I love it. I love it. Everybody tuning in, you can experience this for yourself as a Healing Life member. So if you're a member, just look for Energy Medicine Yoga inside the Healing Life platform, and you can take these live classes in the mornings during the week. And if you miss a live class, you can go attend one of the recorded classes as well. Experience this for yourself. We can talk about it all day long, right? And the more I talk about it, the more excited I get. And I know others get excited. And it's like, yes, it's great to talk about these things, but how do we create real change in our lives and the lives of others? We need to do it. We need to experience it. We need to have the firsthand experience of it. And so I encourage you, go into healinglife.net and experience it for yourself. I'm so glad that you talked about how the body is putting so much time on digesting food. I teach this in my Becoming Cancer-Free Masterclass, that because I work with a lot of cancer patients. And so if you have cancer, one of the things or any chronic disease for that matter, or you just want to prevent disease and live longer and healthier, the more time and energy you put into practices that activate your parasympathetic nervous system, that upregulate your immune system, that create calm and stress-free and relaxation in your life, the more of that you do, the more energy you're going to attribute towards healing, which is why we tell people, hey, stop eating at least 3 hours before bed minimum. So if you're going to sleep by 10 o'clock, you should stop eating even by 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. at the latest. This kind of misinformation that went around that said, oh, you should eat smaller meals 5 or 6 times a day. That's actually terrible advice, right? Because all you're doing all day long is digesting. It can take hours for your body to digest that food. Every time your body is focused on fight or flight, sympathetic nervous system. So you're watching the news, you're in fight or flight. You're watching a really, crazy, scary movie, or you're driving in traffic and you're freaked out, or you're afraid of something. Your body is putting its energy towards that system, your cortisol, your fight or flight system, your adrenals, etc., taking away from healing and repair. Same thing at night. If you eat late at night and then go to bed, rather than going into autophagy and cellular cleanup and removing cancer cells from your body and reducing inflammation, your body's just putting all that energy into digesting food. So I'm bringing this point up to reiterate the fact that that's one part of a holistic approach. But the other part is, when you wake up in the morning, what do you do? Well, if you're waking up and having a glass of water, maybe you're intermittent fasting, maybe you're having some tea or some green juice, and then you do an energy medicine yoga class to start your day, just imagine how much more you are activating your healing capacity after that healing sleep, because you stopped eating a few hours before bed, because you got into a couple hours of deep sleep, maybe a couple hours of REM sleep on top of it. And then you wake up and then you start with this energy healing practice to start your day. Just imagine how much more, you are activating that healing capacity within yourself. Or maybe you can't do it first thing in the morning, so you do it in the afternoon or in the evening. But adding in these practices, whether it's meditation, energy medicine, yoga, whatever it is throughout the day that's activating more healing, a more parasympathetic response, the better you're going to be for your body being able to do what it's designed to do, which is heal itself. And the more likely you are to live longer and healthier with more vitality. So I'm so glad you brought that up. And I wanted to also ask you, like, can you talk about who the practice is for, who it's maybe not for, if it's not for somebody, are there limitations, or are there people that can't do it because maybe they're bedridden or in a wheelchair, or is there a way it's accessible to everybody? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I actually have my little pitch on who it's not for, but it's sort of a little snarky, but it's really, but I'll share it because I really believe in that. It's not for you if you don't want to heal. It's not for you if you think that you're the one person that this stuff doesn't work for. And I hear that all the time. Because I used to feel like that too. Like, I've tried everything. Trust me, that's not going to work because I'm so special and different. We're not. We're all the same. We have every single person on the planet has all the same 9 energy systems, no matter what your belief system is. It's just like no matter where you are in the world, you have skin, you have blood, you have bones, you have a digestive tract. Like, that's just how we're made. And so, that's the only one who it's not for. If you're still, that's all I'm going to say about that. Who it's for? Everybody. As I said, I actually taught this to my niece a few years ago when she was in kindergarten to the 5th graders, and that's 5th graders, 5-year-olds, the 5-year-olds. And as they're just starting to understand how to use their bodies, right? And then I've had students all the way up. I think my oldest student was a gentleman. I think he was 85 years old. I have a master teacher who's 80, well, she must be 85 right now or 86, and has had some serious health issues and has supported herself and healed many things with energy medicine yoga. So it really runs the gamut. You mentioned if people are incapacitated in a wheelchair or have some maybe paralysis in the body and can't do a traditional yoga practice on a mat. We have all kinds of adaptations, and one of the biggest adaptations that really blew my mind when I first learned of it is the ability to visualize these practices and have a result, nearly identical result. And there's some amazing research on the powers of visualization. You can visualize yourself weightlifting and build muscle mass. You can visualize yourself. I mean, you see athletes do it all the time, right? I'm a big skier and I watch the Olympics, and they're at the top of the slope and they're doing this, right? They're visualizing skiing. I mean, that's been used in competition for years. And it's a real thing. The studies are fun if you want to research them yourself and see the kinds of things that you can do. And so you can.
I just want to add that real quick, how true that is for people who maybe are still doubting or don't believe it, or who want to expand upon it. I know a doctor, Dr. Cynthia, actually did a documentary on her that's not out yet, but it is coming out. And she ended up being she was a medical doctor, and she ended up having so much chronic fatigue and all kinds of issues that conventional medicine couldn't help her, and she ended up being bedridden, a mother, medical doctor, completely lost, and not very old either. I believe 40s or 50s at the time, and ended up not being able to get out of bed. So much chronic fatigue, so much pain, no real solutions for her. And she started energy medicine practice. It was a Qigong practice, actually, following it on her laptop, on her TV, only visualizing at first, even only 10-15 minutes a day, because she couldn't get out of bed. She was in that much pain and that much chronic fatigue. And little by little, she was able to do more and more and more and more, eventually to where she could get out of bed and do a full practice standing up, to eventually completely healing and writing a book about it and speaking and touring all over the country and getting her life back and becoming the mother that she wanted to be to her children, working as a medical doctor again, all through this practice of visualization. So not only are there many anecdotal stories of that, but as you said, there's a lot of science supporting that. There was one study I'll share that's really fascinating, I think, for people tuning in. They took 2 groups of people, and they took one group and had them shoot free throws in practice. Actually, they took 3 because they had a control group. One group to shoot, basketball free throws, and they practiced shooting free throws. They took another group that never touched a basketball, never went to a basketball court, and had them practice only in their mind, visualizing. and then another group, third group, who did nothing. And they wanted to see who improved the most. Well, the group who did nothing, no practice at all, no visualization, they obviously didn't get any better when they tested them. I mean, I think we all would probably assume that. You're not going to get better if you don't practice. The second group that improved actually didn't improve, that improved, but not as good as the third group. The group that practiced physically actually improved less than the group who practiced only visually. The group who practiced only visually without touching the ball improved significantly more in their free throws when they tested them than the group who was doing it physically. So there's something to be said, and you said there's multiple studies on that, where visualizing something like this, a healing practice, for example, can be so powerful, and you can still get the benefits. But obviously, if you can physically do it, you're going to get the physical benefits as well.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. No, yeah, absolutely. But you get the physical benefits even by simply doing the visualization practice. So if you do have any limitations, I want to encourage you to still do these practices. Even just reading them. Nathan mentioned my book. I've got 3 books out, and you can read some of these practices. And I used to think, oh, how am I going to write a yoga book? How do you write a yoga practice? But I've written them in such a way that when you read them, your energy is moving with you as your eyes are reading the words, so that you're really engaging both the physical and the intellectual and the energetic at the same point. And so these practices are powerful. And because energy is the most diffuse substance that there is, you can tap into it in ways that might seem magic just because we don't have the words to talk about something that is so essential, really. And we haven't explored it enough because it's sort of changing our cosmology over the last 10, 20 years and towards into the future. Our cosmology and understanding of how the world is actually made is changing. And so the language is still catching up to that. But this work will help you no matter where you are and what challenges you have. And what's really beautiful, and we'll try to do some of this on this platform as well, and your feedback will be really important for that, because we have practices that pinpoint a variety of things. Now, let me just say this so we don't get Nathan flooded with a ton of customer service calls. We do not diagnose and prescribe anything. Energy medicine yoga is not a diagnostic practice in terms, because, let me say this. The goal is to balance your energy. And when the energy is balanced, the body heals. That said, you can look through the practices and see where you are out of balance if that's not clear to you. And that is the case often with emotional issues. How is that manifesting physically for me? Or you have a physical issue and you want to address that on some other levels, on an energetic level. So there's a way that we do that kind of diagnosing, where you are going to be in a category of practice that's going to support what underlying challenges you have. But the more feedback that you give us, or the kind of practices you want, then we can start to tailor them to you. And matter of fact, one of the teachers that I've invited to join this platform teaches energy medicine yoga for Parkinson's. And it's an incredible practice, and she has been helping so many people. And so energy medicine yoga, any practice you're going to take is going to help you. And we can also get really specific on the kinds of practices that we can offer to support you. So it's for everybody, and we want to serve all of you wherever you are with whatever specific needs you have.
It's so beautiful. That's why I'm so excited for this partnership. I'm so excited that you and your certified teachers are teaching energy medicine yoga at healinglife.net. So everyone tuning in, if you're already a member, just look for Energy Medicine Yoga inside Healing Life, and you can attend the live classes there. You can attend the recorded classes as well. If you're not a member yet, you can get a free trial to join and try this out for yourself. Highly recommend that you experience it for yourself. healinglife.net. As we wrap up here, Lauren, you mentioned your book, The Energy to Heal. Talk a little bit about it. What really prompted you to write it? What can people really gain out of it? And then, where can people buy it?
Yeah. So, You know, I mentioned earlier that I had a lot of traumatic experiences in my life that the yoga wasn't helping me to resolve. And when I found the energy medicine and started to weave those two practices together, I started to really free myself up from those experiences. And I felt all of the things that you feel when you heal: more energy, more joy, more peace, more calm, all of the things that we are longing for, more freedom. But I experienced some even more incredibly crazy traumatic experience. And I kind of got thrown to the bottom of the well. And I knew that if I was going to survive this, I needed everything that I already had and more. And I didn't know what that more was. I just knew that this was like the big kahuna. And how was I going to heal this? And I called in, it was like dial a friend, everyone that I knew that could support me on this process of healing. And I honestly wrote this book to save myself. I didn't write it as a book. It was the practices that I used to save myself. And when I got to the other side, that is the promise, that there is the other side. There is the promise of freedom from your stress and from your trauma. When I got to the other side, I kind of put it all together and I thought, I don't know, is this something, or maybe this was just my journey? And I shared it with two friends, a former editor and a dear friend, who both told me that I absolutely had to publish this work. So it was really my healing journey, and the beauty in it, I think, and what it's only been out a month or so, and the feedback has been amazing. Again, with all of energy medicine yoga, it's accessible, it's easy to use, and the results are remarkable and powerful and tangible. And for me, I feel like we are at a crux point in the world, an inflection point of trauma and stress in the world. Everywhere you look, we are in a global trauma response. And if we don't start to heal our traumas individually, communally, globally, we are not going to make it to the next iteration. We're just not. I mean, you can just look at all of the issues that are facing us today, and that's reflected in our bodies. So many of us are dealing with disease patterns in our bodies, cancers, autoimmune issues, allergies, things that are reflective of the cancers, the autoimmune issues, the allergies on the planet as a whole. And I'm not only speaking climate, but the climate of everything, right, is riddled with these kind of disease patterns. So we are reflective, we are a fractal, we are a as above, so below, a nesting doll of what's happening. And my deepest belief is that at the root of all of that is trauma. At the root of all of that is trauma. And so that if we could heal our traumas, we can find the creative solutions to every problem that's out there, because there are so many solutions. We are awash in solutions, but we are lacking the will to enact those solutions. And I believe that's because we are acting from a place of trauma. Hurt people hurt people. If we heal ourselves, we only want the best for everybody else. And so my hope with this book is to spread the healing, truly. And the practices in this book, again, are really accessible and really powerful for healing from anything on the spectrum. Again, from stresses, just daily stresses, to chronic stress, from traumatic events to a traumatic life as a whole. These practices will help you heal and help you find that freedom that you're longing for. So the book is available now, and actually we're offering to all of you in Healing Life this discount of 30% to go grab a copy of this book, and grab a few copies, spread them out, give them to people that might not have access to this, that might not know this information. We really need to share out those who know, to share it to those who don't know, so that we can all collect together and we can all be in this community together. And so I'm really excited to offer that to you, to spread the word of this, and to bring some of these teachings here to your platform, Nathan, and to all of you out there. And so I'm just really excited for this partnership and to see how you will also feed back into the practice of energy medicine yoga, because it's a living practice. It is a feedback loop. And so the more feedback that you, the students, give to energy medicine yoga, to me, to my team, the more responsive that we can be to the needs of you, but also to the practice that is evolving, because it's evolving as we all evolve to serve us. So if the practices that you're doing right now aren't serving you, then I invite you to try energy medicine yoga and see if that might be the one that does.
It's so beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for that generous discount for all of our members too. So we'll put a link. Actually, we'll send out that discount to all members. If you're a current member, we'll send you how to get that discount of the book. If you're a new member, we'll have that available for you in the Energy Medicine Yoga tab with a link and a discount as well. For everyone, even if you don't become a member, I encourage you to go get a copy of Lauren's book. You can find it on Amazon or anywhere else out there. Go grab a copy of the book, because it's always nice to have a physical, tangible version of this work. You can read it, but ideally you will experience it and experience it for yourself. And you can do that at healinglife.net. So Lauren, I am so excited for this partnership, for this collaboration. I mean, two people from Montana who are not, who came and met many years later, who have come together by the grace of God, by the grace of the universe, to bring this work out to the world. I'm so honored and excited that you've said yes to this partnership with our community, and for the great work that you've done in bringing this forward. I think it's incredibly important work that is changing people's lives, and I'm honored to be able to share this with more people around the world. So thank you.
Thank you, Nathan. I'm really excited as well, and I'm excited for you all to get on the mat and to experience the healing yourself. So thank you, Nathan, for this incredible opportunity, and thank you, all of you, for being willing and open to try something new that just might be the key to your healing. So I'm excited for all of it.